Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. And this story, you just couldn't make it up. We know how useless the SNP are at every single thing they do. And then you know that they do these vanity projects to make themselves look marvellous and virtuous, but in actual fact always makes them look foolish and stupid. So they bring in the low emission zones in Glasgow, then pluck some random year out of the air, got nothing to do with what comes out the back end of the car. So because you've got a new car, you're going to have a V12, spewing out all sorts of crap out the back end. But because it's a newer car, it's deemed to be okay. Whereas you can have a car that can be one day outside of the age, which is so clean, so very, very clean, and yet wouldn't be allowed in because they've just gone it by some arbitrary number rather than emissions based, which is the sensible way of doing it. But this is the SNP, they're not sensible. So anyway, they bring in this low emission zone in Glasgow, and so only clean cars are allowed into the city. It's been 19 days. Air pollution has got worse. You couldn't make this up. We don't need. You've got particularly clean air anyway, so you bring this in, and the air gets worse. Can the SNP do anything that doesn't fail? How can this possibly fail? Except it does, because it's the SNP. I'm just going to go straight in the story. I can bet. Honestly, they're a joke. Here's the story. Seriously, I keep saying that if this was an episode of The Thick of It or something like that, people wouldn't believe it. This is straight out of it, isn't it? So, air pollution increases in Glasgow low emission zone since the rules were enforced. So you got rid of all the dirty cars, all the old cars. No, you haven't got rid of all the dirty cars though, have you? You've got rid of all the old cars, but they weren't necessarily the dirty cars. And so the cars you are allowing in are obviously dirty cars because you did it by date and not by emissions. What absolute buffoonery it is. It is absolutely moronic, isn't it? It's not even funny. You've got to feel sorry for them. These people have to go through their whole lives being this stupid. It's really hard. Anyway, the controversial zone has been widely panned, and it seems it may not even be having the desired impact. No, because its desired impact was nothing to do with air quality, of course. It was all to do with keeping poor people out of the town centre, because obviously poor people can't afford new cars. Therefore, you can keep the impoverished out. It's all part of the 15-minute ghettos that they keep wanting to build. Anyway, air pollution has increased in Glasgow's low emission zone since the rules were enforced by the council at the start of June. It's not even been 3 weeks yet. According to site data from the city centre, 4 key indicators of pollution have actually gone up this month compared with May. In one instance, the levels actually now exceed legal limits because they're morons. Anyway, the Air Quality of Scotland website records nitrogen dioxide NO2 levels of 43 in June compared with 37.1 in May, with the legal limit being 40. Nitrogen dioxide can cause respiratory problems in humans and even chronic lung disease through prolonged exposure. Nitrous oxide, which can have the same effect, levels have also jumped up from 23.4 to 30 or 30.1. It's a joke. Anyway, nitrous oxide presenting as NO2 levels have jumped from 73 in May to 89.2 in June. And particulate matter, tiny particles in the air such as dirt and dust, have increased from 13.7 in May to 15 in June so far. So the air quality in Glasgow has got way, way worse. And you know why? It's because you got rid of all the clean cars. Because obviously the ones going into the city now are the dirty cars. But they're new cars and therefore they're allowed. It's What kind of idiot? I mean, we have to ask this question. What kind of idiot says we want to set out to have clean air and then puts the filter not on what the particulate matter or anything that comes out the exhaust, but simply the age of the car? And so you could actually stop a very, very clean car coming into the city because it's old, but allow a massively dirty car to come into the city because it's new. It's on the mistaken belief that new cars are clean. No, it really, really doesn't work that way. But these people are too stupid to understand. See, in London, it's based on emissions. It's harsh, but it's based on emissions. So if you've got a nice little clean car, it doesn't matter how old the car is. As long as its emissions are below whatever the threshold is, it's perfectly fine. If you did the same thing in Glasgow, you wouldn't have this these rising levels. I tell you what, the SNP are just a joke, aren't they? They are. It's a party filled with the world's most stupid people. The Low Emission Zone, which is designed to improve air quality in the city, and hasn't, has proven controversial among drivers, some of whom now find their vehicles are banned from Glasgow City Centre. Not if you're a foreign driver, though, because they haven't got access to that. So if you go and slap on a pair of Polish plates or something, Rob's your uncle. It doesn't matter. Under the rules, only diesel engines registered after September 2015 and petrol vehicles registered from 2006 onwards are able to drive in the area. So if you had a 2005 car which was particularly clean, it would be banned, and yet you can have a brand new V12 Rolls Royce chunking out dead seagulls out the arse end of it, and that would be allowed in because lunacy. Anyway, drivers face a fine of £60 if they enter the zone with a non-compliant vehicle, with the penalty being doubled for every subsequent breach, although we previously reported that foreign vehicles could dodge fines as they would not be picked up on the system. Go get yourself an Irish car. Fines are capped at £480 for cars and light goods vehicles and £960 for buses and HGVs. And if ever you sat behind a bus, you know the amount of crap that comes out of them. They can say, oh, it's a new bus, it's fine. No, it's still pumping out crap at the back end, isn't it? Scottish Conservative Shadow Transport Minister Graham Simpson said, you couldn't make it up. And I said that at the beginning of this video. You absolutely couldn't. He said the low emission zone seems to be having the opposite effect to the intended one. He says it beggars belief, coming on top of the revelation that many Glasgow City Council vehicles are non-compliant. This SNP green scheme is already a shambles. Everything, every single thing that the SNP and the Greens do ends as a complete shambles. They can get nothing right, and I mean literally nothing. I was reading this, I was roaring with laughter. How could you possibly screw up so badly that your low emission zone makes things worse? It's ridiculous. Only the SNP, no other party in the world, in any other country ever, would have this effect. It is the SNP effect, isn't it? Honestly, these people couldn't boil an egg. Anyway, a motion has been submitted at the Scottish Parliament calling on Glasgow City Council to apply further exemptions to the rules. Businesses and charities can currently ask to use their vehicle in the city centre, even if it breaks the rules, with council officers considering each on a case-by-case basis. And the motion has been launched by Labour MSP Pam Duncan-Glancy. Now, if that's the case, and everybody just puts this in and they allow them all, what's the point of the low emission zone? Especially when you've already actually got quite clean air to begin with. And this low emission zone has just made it worse. Anyway, Pam Duncan-Glancy said the low emission zone in Glasgow hasn't been fully thought through. Hasn't been thought through at all. Carers, unpaid carers and healthcare staff who need to get into the city should be able to, easily, but many can't because they face fines. Low emission zones are currently in place in Edinburgh, Aberdeen and Dundee, with those to be enforced from next year. A Glasgow City Council spokesman said Glasgow's low emission zone will, as it was designed to do, improve both public health and air quality in the city centre. Have you seen what's happened since? Levels of harmful air pollution had remained stubbornly high for far too long in this part of Glasgow. Well, that's okay. They've changed all that. They've made it worse. Said that a low emission zone will bring health benefits to people living, working and visiting the airport, visiting the area, on an outcome that we can surely all agree on. Yeah, we should. That's fine. Let's have great clean air. It's brilliant. You've made it worse. You couldn't make this up. You absolutely couldn't make this up. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke, isn't it? And only the SNP could do this. Honest to God. Anyway, I'm going to finish it there. I'm going to come up and round off, but it's just a joke, isn't it? Every day, in every way, the SNP screw up. There is nothing. I haven't seen any other party in the entire history of the world with such an immense record of fail. And how can you fail on things that can't possibly fail? I don't see how this party is still going with the history of this party. How is it still a thing? Surely they should all just give up and go home and say, do you know what? It's just not worth it anymore. But you have a low emission zone that makes the air quality worse. Only the SNP. It is a joke. I've really got to stop. Be a professional. Come on, be professional. Get to the end. Burst out laughing afterwards. Anyway, listen, thank you very much for laughing. I apologise for my breaking off and laughter at the end. It's just so funny. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Anyway, I'm going to have to bite my tongue in a minute. Thank you very much for watching. If you like what you see and hear on the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit the like. Please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, and for heaven's sake, go and get a low emission car because you need to save Glasgow from the SNP. Goodbye.